Sonible has just released the Smart EQ 4 and it has at least one feature that I really wanted to have in the Smart EQ 4. It is that one feature that I actually use the FabFilter Pro Q for now. And that really makes me juggle between those two plugins, which I don't want to do anymore. Anyway, let's take a closer look. Alright, welcome to Smart EQ 4. Take the tour. Yeah, we are going to read some kind of manual here. Smart EQ 4 is an AI-driven equalizer that makes spectral balancing of single tracks and creating a hierarchy amongst multiple tracks as fast and intuitive as it should be. This was already possible in the Smart EQ 3, where you could drag and drop your tracks at certain levels where it would then EQ it at. Makes more sense if you if you use it and play with it. So it has a track view, yeah, and it has a group view. That's for creating what is that word? Hierarchical. Anyway, that word arranges up to 10 tracks and remotely controlling the EQ curves of all group members. That's also really cool. Like, you do not necessarily need to switch plugins when EQing multiple tracks. Like, you can do it all from one screen, which is also what I really like from mixing on an analog console. Like, I don't need to switch. It's literally in front of me. All right, we've got the analysis stuff. That's not really new. Although I do know that you can now select the time it takes to learn, I think. Okay, and we have smart filter. Whoa, we got our group view. We're gonna play with that. We've got our even more complicated group view. Let's go. All right, so let's, yeah, there's a lot more profiles in here. A lot of mix profiles in here for full mixes. And we are actually having a funky type of track going on here. So let's just, press the learn button. And press play. See what happens. Oh yeah. It tries to go a little bit more classic funk. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Cool. So this is for the people that don't know the Smart EQ yet. This green thing is our smart band, and what it basically does is it creates a filter for you. So if we put the smart band to all the way the width and at around 100%, which is I think over here, it now shows you the curve that it suggests you to EQ on. And what you can do with this curve is do it more extreme, less extreme, invert it, so disagree with it, and even invert it a lot. And what you can also do is you can only do this at a certain band. And of course you have the possibility of splitting it into smart bands where you can disagree with one part of the spectrum and agree with the other part of the spectrum. It's a different way of thinking, but I actually tend to use it quite a lot and it works pretty intuitive. Definitely when there is a result that comes out and I'm like, no, I actually meant the opposite. You just quickly drag it the opposite way around and it just works. It just does its thing. I mean, I'm using Smart EQ 3 more and more. So I'll probably just upgrade to Smart EQ 4. Anyway, let's check out that new dynamic EQ feature in here. So let's just make a band here. I don't know. Over here. And let's enable dynamic. Processing. Oh, and then I have to... Okay, so it's not as fluent as FabFilter yet. But it does give me way more control. We've got compressor controls here. Great. That's what I want to have in a dynamic EQ. It actually makes it better. On the other hand, the FabFilter dynamic EQ is quicker to deploy. Like if I add a dynamic EQ here, it's just a matter of like dragging it down and it immediately starts processing. Like that's how quickly It works in the Pro Q3. On the other hand, if you are already working in Smart EQ 4 and you have to insert Pro Q3, it's about the same amount of mouse clicks. So yeah, what am I bitching about? I don't know. One of the features I found in here is that you can change the maximum learning time. So what I saw a lot, and I actually see this in more than just this plugin from Sonible, is that whenever I try to learn a section of music, it already has it setting before it actually has heard everything. And with increasing this maximum learning time, it will listen to a longer part of the music and then get a better average at it. And I actually would love to have this feature in the Smart Limit as well. So people from Sonible, if you can make a software update there that I can have this in the Smart Limit, because I use Smart Limit on my videos and I need that to listen to a longer stretch of the content, please. It also has a feature that I don't know if I talked about it on video, but I did talk about this with the people from Sonible. Auto Learn on Startup, which I'm going to immediately enable here. It's basically when you insert a plugin, it immediately starts listening and learning, because it's just another mouse click. Like, why isn't it just immediately learning already? Definitely because it doesn't need to relearn when switching profiles. It basically globally learns your track and then you can just select a profile. So if it has already taken in your track, it's just, you know, a time saver. I'm a time saving freak. All right, so I've cloned EQ on the group, and let's just put a lead synth here, a pad synth here, drums, just drum set, and bass here. Let's click learn on all these different instances. So keep in mind, I'm controlling this from the bass track, but I'm basically controlling this whole group of plugins. So it takes a little while to train. And what I can now do is I can control, of course, my bass instance, because that's the exact EQ that I'm controlling right now. So I can do whatever I want here. Yeah, let's do a little bit adaptive. The smoothing feature is also new, by the way. So smoothing out this whole thing. Let's smooth it out a little bit, like that. Add a little bit of low. Oh, immediately gets enthusiastic with dynamic mode. And then I can click here on a different instance and it then shows it down here. So I can show the drums here now and can work on both the drums and the bass at the same time. I don't want any adaptive control here. Whoa. Cool. And from there I can completely control my track. I can even like swap this around, like say that the drums need to be more in the background. And you can see how the curve changes from doing that. Like it decides upon a different curve if I swap these things around. And this is all interactive with each other as well. Now what we have down here is a little mode knob where you can switch between track plus group, track or group. And this is basically, you know, if you set this thing to track, it will EQ the track according to the preset that I've had put in here. It will not listen to anything in the group here. So it is in the group, but it kind of isn't. If I set this mode to group, it will only listen to the group. So it will just try to fit it in the group according to how it's set over here. Like if I change this, you can see that the curve will change. And if I set it to track plus group, it will basically do both. It will try to balance between those two modes. It's quite an important new feature in there. Now the last new feature that I want to talk about, and there are probably more things going on in here, and you can all find it out because there's a 30-day free trial. The last new feature in here is an auto gain, which I really like. I always like to use auto gain whenever I can. In some situations it doesn't really make sense. In other situations it does. And when EQing, it makes some sense, not always. It makes some sense. Definitely when you solo a channel and then EQ on it and then you unsolo it. You don't want the balance to change in your mix, all that kind of stuff. I'm a huge fan of equal gain monitoring, which is something that I would love to make a video about, but I mean, I do understand the subject, but I cannot teach it yet. Not yet, but soon. Anyway, it does support auto gain, so that's always a big win. Definitely when you can also disable it if you don't want to use it, which is also great for all the people that disagree with my auto gain statements. So yeah, really cool upgrade to the Smart EQ 4, and it has really brought the Smart EQ ahead of the FabFilter Pro Q, where it was first like a bit at the same level, where, you know, the win of the Smart EQ was the whole AI stuff in there and the group mixing stuff, and the win of the Pro Q was most of all the dynamic EQ and the way that the dynamic EQ worked. But now with the dynamic EQ in here, it makes it even easier for me to make this my go-to EQ in my sessions, because it literally has everything in there that I need. And one of the recent use cases I had with the Smart EQ 3 was in a huge session. I don't remember the amount of channels. It was a huge orchestral session with multiple drum recordings, so stacked on top of each other. One drum recording with the full drum kit, another drum recording with some percussion stuff, and another drum recording with all the microphones with, I don't remember. Anyway, huge session. I still needed to do some editing, some organization, that kind of stuff. And when you have raw signals coming in, you have to balance and EQ them already in order to actually hear what is going on. So I just slammed a bunch of the Smart EQ 3s on there and just put them on Learn, arranged them a little bit in a group, and just had it automatically do its job. And that basically created a starting position for my work in a matter of minutes, where I would normally plan basically 2 hours to just sort the session. And in this case, I had a workable sound ready in a few minutes, and I could just sort the session in like 20 minutes from there. And what is really cool about it is that when I start mixing, I can basically just jump into the EQs and just adjust whatever I want to adjust, or run it through analog, or maybe keep the EQ on and then run it to analog to color it with the analog EQs, and, you know, just do the functional stuff with the digital EQs. It just saves so much time. So I am very, very happy with this addition, and it's basically just the dynamic EQ that I needed. So I'm very happy with that, and yeah, I would love to hear what all of you think. So make sure to check out the trial. It's a 30-day free trial. Now, I'm a huge fan of Sonible products, and I'm in direct contact with them. They try to make sure that I receive the products beforehand so that I could create this video. However, I do have quite an interesting deal with them, and that is that they don't get access to the video, or don't get anything to say about what is going to be in the video and what not. And they actually told me that they generally try to stay away from getting involved in editorial changes. So that is really, really cool of them. However, I just want you to know that they did send me this plugin. They've also sent me a license for it so that I can start using it in my day-to-day workflow. And I also want to disclose that I am affiliated with plugin boutique that actually sells the Sonible Smart EQ, and that is also going to be the link in the description down below. So I just want you all to know this, but I haven't been paid to say anything or not say anything or whatever. Everything that I'm saying in this video is my complete, honest and independent opinion, and I just really like these Sonible products. So yeah, as said, I will link to Smart EQ in the description down below. If you want to support the channel, you can consider becoming a channel member and check out this playlist. It contains a lot of tutorials, and soon there will be a whole list of Sonible tutorials, but I'm still working on making them. So it's definitely going to take 1 or 2 more months before they will be on there. But, you know, consider checking out the playlist and consider becoming a channel member, because that helps a lot. Another way to support the channel is by simply watching more videos. So link an interesting video over here. Thanks a lot for watching. Keep pushing. And bye-bye.